So that was the atmosphere that we grew up in. We grew up knowing about the war, listening to the stories, and being told that we hope it never happens again.
And you talked a lot about ancestors and
Yeah,
generations. So generally, generations pass on values and perspectives.
yeah.
What are the distinct Artsakian values and perspectives carried through to the generations?
Yeah, I think the biggest feature that Artsakians have, even compared to Armenia in general or the Armenians, it's that we are a warrior nation. We are Armenians, and we were known to be good warriors throughout history. Uh, since Artsakh was always semi-independent, even when Armenia was after the division between countries, Artsakh uh, was able to keep its semi-independence. So we would be in another country, but we will be dealing among ourselves with our problems. We would have Artsakian government, uh, like up to 19th century. Artsakh was mostly independent. It was in an like it was formally in another country, but it was governed by Armenians. It was governed by Artsakian Armenians. So we have a different perspective when it comes to what is independence. We don't really accept being controlled by some other nation or some other rulers, because we have historically always have our own, even when we were the in the borders of another country or bigger country. So I think the biggest feature that we have is religion, like um, and being warriors.
And how do these two complement each other? How are warrior and religion linked?
I think they are greatly integrated together, because when there's peace, you are religious, you are living a peaceful life together with God. You are you are living, uh, creating art, creating like the same churches, creating cities. And when there is war, you leave that whole side, you go, you fight for your right to have the peace and to continue creating and continue living. So in Artsakh, in Armenia too, like the Armenian people and Artsakian Armenian people, we have that interesting feature where we are both very religious and both fighting nation. Uh, so
I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you say
yeah,
we are very religious, how can you see that? What does it mean in real life?
um, for example, I don't know how it's in other countries, but in Armenia, um, people will celebrate all the Christian uh, like holidays. People will go to church on Sundays. People We studied, for example, I studied religion from the first year of school. We grew up learning about God, learning about Christianity. So when you live surrounded by churches, it's inevitable that you will wander into one. And so also, like, even in the speech, we often refer to God. Even when we are cursing someone, we're cursing them by saying, like, God will do this to you, so may God do that to your family. So we also often refer to God when it comes to even the very little things.
And do you see, is there a difference between like your parents, your grandparents, and them perceiving religion, and your generation, the younger generation?
Well, I think the biggest difference will be between me and my parents, because I grew up in during the times of the Soviet Union. So when atheism was forced upon people, although in Armenia people still went to churches, the churches were not shut down, but they grew up without learning about Christianity. Like they didn't study religion like we did. It was like regarded as something unimportant. So. Uh, but my grandparents, they grew up in the early stages of the Soviet Union. So, and they had their grandparents to lead them and to teach them. For example, my mom said that her grandmother was very religious. Her mother was already not that religious, but still religious. And now she, after the Soviet Union like collapsed, she is now rediscovering the meanings behind certain holidays, the customs, and I already grew up studying about religion from very young age. So um, it it is different when you learn from it from hearing from your parents, from your grandparents, and when you study it in school, when you go to church and you know why you're going there, what is the message.
So what I'd be interested in also, is it exclusively 100% of the people are Christian, or do you also welcome, like, some people are maybe atheists, other people practice Islam, others Hinduism, or yeah, maybe if you can drop a word or two in that.
Yeah, sure. So officially we're Christian, but we have minorities, of course, and not everyone is Christian. That we also have atheists. We have in Artsakh, I don't think we have any Hindus. Maybe we have, I don't know. But we are not oppressive. We don't tell people that you can't be Orthodox Armenian like Christian. But most of the people, yes, they are Christian. And although not everyone is as religious as the others, for example, not everyone will go to church every week, or not everyone will celebrate the holidays, but most of the people do, and it's majority is Christian. Um, yeah, that majority is Christian, but we also accept other religions. We don't oppress them.
That's very interesting. So essentially, adopting a religion is a personal decision, and it's not
Yes,
mandatory.
yes, of course.
And so that brings us really about, what are the rules and laws of Artsakh? Talking about freedom of speech, about expression of opinion, of diversity. I'd be really interested, and you can take any one perspective you think is most appropriate.
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to diversity and difference of opinions, like Artsakians are not that easy to oppress. When they have something to say, they will say it. They stick to their opinions. So we really don't have the culture of oppressing others, the thoughts of others. So if someone thinks differently, they are free to say. They are open for discussions. So freedom of speech, of course, in the family, in the society. So everyone is free to do whatever they feel like, as long as it doesn't endanger the others, so to say.
Now, I mean, the most reasonable principle of all, I
Yeah.
in your narrative, you were sometimes like referring to Armenia, Armenians, and then
Mhm.
Artsakians again. So
Mhm.
would you say there is a distinct differences or similarities between Artsakians and Armenians?
I don't think there is much of a difference, but since we have our own dialect and we were mostly separated from Armenia because we had our semi-independence and we were like a little fortress, mountainous fortress. We like will think a little bit differently sometimes when it comes to certain topics. For example, in Artsakh, the woman is the head of the family mostly. So in Armenia, it is the dad who is the head of the family who decides everything. But in Artsakh, it's more common when the dad is the one who is fighting and the mom is the one who takes care of the children of the house. So she has more of a say. That's a very big difference that I've noticed after moving to Armenia and living in Yerevan. That I noticed that women here are not as outspoken and usually like when in the family, dad is the head of the family. He is the one who makes um, the biggest decisions. And in Artsakh, it's more equal, and also the mother is often has more of a say when it comes to family matters.
That is
I think.
very interesting.
Yeah.
And like, since we are already talking about the family, and to how to imagine family life. Like what does a like yeah, I mean maybe share some events of like key events for a family in Artsakh.
Well, when we look at the start of the family is the wedding. So the weddings are a big part of the family life, where the family life starts, and then there is the birth of children, which is the second biggest part, and then is the marriage of the children. So it goes from the starting
Okay.
the family.
Like I'd be so curious to learn more about a really traditional, full-fledged Artsakian wedding.
Well, I don't really know much about it, but it's not that different from the traditional Armenian way of getting married. Like people, the couple will go to church with their family, with their friends. They will be married in church in front of God, and after that, there will be a big celebration with lots of guests from both sides, from with friends, with family. It's the time where often the members of the family who live far away will come and visit, and it's a reunion of the part of the family that lives far away, like relatives, aunts, uncles. They all with their children will visit. So the weddings are a great chance to gather the family, the members of the family, and finally get to talk, get to hear about each other, like talk to each other. Because when it's one thing when you talk in person, and it's another thing when you talk through the telephone or on the internet. So that is the interesting part, that families get together from both parts, from the grooms and from the bride's part side. I mean, so
And
the weddings are usually big and huge. So I think it's a belief that if you have a grand wedding, you will have a grand life together. So people usually don't are not satisfied with small like weddings with a few people. You will try to get as many guests as possible, as many relatives as possible.
I like this perspective. A grandiose celebration never hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's really time to have a little look at an outline of Artsakh. How big is it? How many cities are there? What are the largest cities? Where's the capital located? How does the
Mhm.
capital differentiate to the smaller cities?
Yeah. Well, the capital is Stepanakert. It's the biggest city, although historically it was Shushi. But I think when Stepanakert was built, it became the capital city during the Soviet rule, and it remained the capital. So, but I personally I prefer Shushi. Of course, it's more historical, like cute and small with small little houses, and mm, so the area, I think it's around 12,000 kilometers. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. And when it comes to population, it's around 100 to 150,000, if I'm not mistaken. So
Stepanakert or all of
no, the population of Artsakh, the Republic of Artsakh, the biggest hit that um, we have received during the war are the lives of the soldiers. Those are the most valuable things that we won't be able to get back. So even if it's the hospital, if it's the churches, we can rebuild those. But lives of young guys of 18 to 20 years old boys are fighting for our freedom. So a whole generation is being killed, and that won't be retrieved no matter what we do.